when I realized the opportunity I had to tell this message, to present this portrait of strategic leadership, you know, it's not a hagiography. I'm not in love with David Petraeus, but I think he does present a terrific role model for young people, for executives, for men and women. No matter what, there's a great role model there who is values-oriented, who speaks the truth to power.
All abroad, we're calling David Petraeus a role model. How things have changed. Joining me now is General Mark Kimmit, who's known General Petraeus for 25 years. Also Michael Hastings, BuzzFeed reporter, writer for Rolling Stone. He says America should have never trusted Petraeus in the first place. And Lieutenant Colonel Rick Francona, a former Defense Intelligence Agency officer who also served with the CIA. Welcome to you all. General Kimmit, let me start with you. You've known General Petraeus for 25 years. Do you recognise the man that you've been reading about in the last 24 hours?
Well, in many ways I do, with this one exception of this incident that he had with Paula Broadwell. I think the fact that this is a guy that stood up when the facts became known, did the honorable thing and resigned, that's the David Petraeus that I know.
Should a general in his position, who's moved on to run the CIA, have to resign his post over an affair, which is really what this seems to have been about?
My opinion, yes. Any commander of an organization who is caught in that kind of compromising behavior, someone who is supposed to set the standards and enforce the standards for that organization, when he is caught in a compromising position, he's got to do the honorable thing and step down. I think Attorney General McCasey mentioned that as well, and I stand behind those comments as well. Any commander that has lost the trust and confidence of his unit has to stand down.
Michael Hastings, in your BuzzFeed article, The Sins of General David Petraeus, you argue that Petraeus was a master of deception. Do you think he should have resigned?
I mean, I think there's many other reasons Petraeus should have resigned besides who he's sleeping with that's not his wife. But I just want to make a point here. That the larger point that I've been making is that essentially the media has played a role in protecting David Petraeus and promoting David Petraeus and mythologizing David Petraeus. And we saw it here tonight. General Kimmit, who was a spokesperson in Baghdad, who was a roommate of Petraeus, who was involved in one of the biggest debacles in recent foreign policy history, is on TV, you know, defending David Petraeus without actually addressing the real problems with David Petraeus' record. And those are the fact that he manipulated the White House into escalating to Afghanistan. He ran a campaign in Iraq that was brutally savage, included arming the worst of the worst, Shiite death squads, Sunni militiamen, and then you go back to the training of the Iraqi army program that also had similar problems. So for me, all the while he's going around the country talking about honor and integrity. So for me, the questions of honor and integrity, I was raising those earlier. A number of other journalists who were actually covering David Petraeus were raising those concerns. You might not get that from someone like Barbara Starr at CNN, who essentially is a spokesperson for the Pentagon in many ways. So I think I just want to step back and to have my piece, because just even the way the scandal is being covered is so different than how usual sex scandals are being covered, where they hammer the guy mercilessly. Now everyone's saying, oh my God, he was at, you know, he just went to the CIA. How could he be, you know, he was susceptible to being seduced by this woman. You know, give me a break. Petraeus now has all his allies coming out to defend him, where Paula Broadwell is there yet again. You know, where are her protectors?
Okay, well, but Barbara's not a spokesperson for him, obviously. But let's move to Lieutenant Colonel.
Not too obviously. I've followed her coverage pretty closely, as she's covered my work before too.
Well, just because she's written naughty things about you doesn't make her a spokesperson.
No, what makes her a spokesperson is repeating without question a lot of Pentagon claims.
Well, you've made a lot of claims which are equally contentious tonight. So I mean, you're getting a platform to have your claims.
You asked me to be here. You asked me to be here to make these claims.
That's why I've asked you one. But for you to dispute everybody else's claims as being nonsense and only yours to be the correct ones,
I'm not disputing that. I'm saying the claims they've made over these years about General Petraeus have been a lot of nonsense, Piers, and that's fact.
Well,
look at Bob Woodward's book.
Right, it's not a fact. It's not a fact that everybody agrees with you about. That's my point. These are contentious analysis of a controversial, quite polarizing figure, but who to many people remains a hero. Let me go to Lieutenant Colonel Rick Francona. You've heard both sides of the Petraeus coin. Where do you sit here?
Well, do I get to arbitrate that?
Yeah, why not?
Let's just. I think there are good points on both sides. The general is absolutely right. I think General Petraeus did a great job in the field. Contrary to what Michael has said, I think he did a good job in Iraq. I think he did a good job in Afghanistan. But I'm not sure he was the right person to head up the Central Intelligence Agency. He doesn't have the right kind of background for that. Sure, he brings the what we thought was going to be this trust and integrity and leadership to the position, and that's gone away very quickly. But I don't think he was the right man for the job. It might not have been the right fit. That said, this resignation may give us an opportunity to find out what really happened in Benghazi, and I think that's what underlies all of this. I think the timing is a little bit suspicious, but I'm willing to forego that if what all these FBI people are saying, that there's no criminal activity. He didn't need to resign. He chose to do the right thing, but he's the go-to guy on what happened in Benghazi, and I hope that at some point we get beyond all this sex and we get into what happened out there.
Okay, General Kimmit, I must give you the last word, because you started in such a civilized manner, and then basically everything you said got trashed. So respond to what Mr. Hastings was saying.
It's simple. To suggest that he was not successful in Iraq belies the facts. I mean, I was there 3 days ago. I've been in Baghdad for the last 2 weeks. It is a much different place than it was when David Petraeus took over there. There is calm.
General Kimmit was the spokesperson in 2004, lying to the American people every day.
Okay,
in 2006, he said there was progress in Iraq. I was in Iraq there, man.
Michael,
don't try to spin. You guys are just letting him spin.
Let him have his say, please.
Okay.
Listen, I was over there as a private businessman. I've been going in there for the last 9 years, both in uniform and as a State Department official, and now as a private individual. And to suggest that Iraq today is the same Iraq that David Petraeus saw when he walked in the door just demonstrates that Michael hasn't been there, and unfortunately it doesn't make the story for him, so I can't help him.
I spent more time in Iraq than you have, man. Come on. I mean, let's be honest. David Petraeus fueled an Iraqi civil war that the Shiites won. We installed a radical Islamist government in Iraq. I'm glad the general was able to make money off his service now that he's out there and he can go and get contracts and do business in Iraq. Great. I'm glad American capitalism can at least get something back from the trillions of dollars and thousands of lives wasted.
Okay, well, look, this is drifted
and by the way,
into...
just as a final note, can I say, it's Veterans Day. My younger brother served, and I have a lot of great friends who are veterans who've always protected me and taken care of me in some pretty bad places. So my respect to them.
Okay, my brother served too, and I echo that final statement. Thank you both very much, General Kimmit and Michael Hastings, and Lieutenant Colonel Rick Francona. It's clearly a contentious matter. When we come back,